No, Josiah, come back in here. No, come on in here. It's too late. Hallelujah. All right, y'all. This is about to be another Bible story. Don't think that I'm playing, Isaac.
This way.
So, what we're going to be doing today, we're going to be reading Jasher chapter 70. So, it's going to be Jasher chapter 70. So, we're going to get right into it. Like I said, this is one of the books from the Sefer. So, it's not a regular book, but it is a part of the stories of the set apart different stories that you just don't hear from a regular Bible. So it's good historical facts and things that you can see how they live their life, from Abraham to Yaakov and his children to, and we're going to be reading about Mosheh and what happened when he was a little kid. So at the time, I'm going to give you a little backstory. Just listen. So at the backstory of Mosheh, when he was, remember we watched a TV show where it was Veggie Tales, right? It was the vegetables jumping around, and basically the sister had to raise the baby. So, and she had to be a big sister. So basically, this is the add-on to it that we didn't get to see from that story. So basically, I'm gonna read a little bit of chapter 69, and then I'm gonna go into 70. But basically, the Pharaoh, or the king at the time, he didn't want Mosheh or the people of Yasharel or Israel to take over Egypt or Mitzrayim. So he didn't want them to take over. So basically, what he was doing, he said, if any boy that was born as a little baby, and he was born, that he's going to be used as a brick to stack a house. It's going to build the house. They're going to put the baby in the wall and lay some cement and make him a wall. And the baby was going to die there. And they was going to wish that they had the baby, but it was going to die. So I'm going to read it. So, but this is, no, not the wall, but bricks. But we're talking about bricks, not water. So, simply put, I'm going to read a little bit of it, and then we're going to go into 70. It says, the man shall be found. Okay, anyway, hold on. Then Pharaoh commanded in those days that a proclamation should be issued throughout Mitzrayim to the children of Yasharel, saying, no man shall diminish anything of his daily labor. The man who shall be found deficient in his labor which he performs daily, whether mortar and bricks, then his youngest son shall be put in their place. The labor of Mitzrayim, wait, that I was missing. No, I didn't. Strengthened upon the children of Yasharel in those days. Behold, if one brick was deficient in any man's labor, the Mitzrayim took his youngest boy by force from his mother and put him into the building in the place of the brick which his father had left wanting. Ain't that tough? meaning that he was doing a job, and if he didn't get his job done in time, whatever he didn't finish, his baby was going to sit there and die for it. That's the truth. So it was real tough. So if you have to do really hard work and you have to meet that deadline, or they was going to force the baby to leave and it was going to have to die. So, um, yeah. So we're going to go into chapter 70. This is Jasher chapter 70. And in the third year from the birth of Moshe, Pharaoh was sitting at a banquet. Pharaoh, okay, just make sure y'all know Moshe means Moses. Pharaoh means the king. Okay, he was sitting at a banquet when Alpharath, the queen, was sitting at the right hand of Bathia at his left. And the lad Moshe was laying. Okay, another backstory. So Moshe was a little baby, and Pharaoh's daughter decided to take Moshe as a little as to adopt him, so he can live at at his house or her at her house. So yeah, so Moshe wasn't living with his parents, right? Yeah, if you know, yeah. So let's go ahead and finish. So Moshe was laying on upon her bosom, and Balaam, the son of Beor, with the two sons and all the princes of the kingdom were sitting the at table in the king's presence. And the lad stretched forth his hand upon the king's head, and took the crown from the king's head, and placed it on his own head. That's deep. Listen to me. I'm not going. We'll talk about it here in a second, but that's the highlight of the story. And when the king and the princes saw the work which the boy had done, the king and the princes were terrified. And one man to his neighbor expressed astonishment. The king said unto the princes who were before him at table, What speak you? What say you, O ye princes, in this matter? What is to be the judgment against the boy on account of this act? And Balaam the son of Beor the magician answered before the king and princes, and he said, Remember now, O Adonai and king, the dream which you did dream many days since, that which your servant interpreted unto you. Now therefore this is a child from the eye-breathed children, in whom is the Ruach Elohim. And let not my Adonai the king imagine that this youngster did this thing without knowledge. For he is an ivory boy, and wisdom and understanding are with him. Alone he is yet a child, and with wisdom he has done this and chosen unto himself the kingdom of Mitzrayim. For this is the manner of the all of ivory, to deceive kings and their nobles, to do all these things cunningly, in order to make the kings of the earth and their men tremble. Excuse me. Surely you know that Abraham their father acted thus, who deceived the army of Nimrod king of Babel, and Avimelech king of Gerar, that he possessed himself of the land of the children of Chet, and the kingdoms of Canaan, and that he descended into Mitzrayim, and said of Sarah, his woman, She is my sister, in order to mislead Mitzrayim and her king. His son Yishak also did so when he went to Gerar and dwelt there, and his strength prevailed over the army of Avimelech king of the Palestine. He also thought of making the kingdom of the Palestine stumble, and saying that Rebekah, his woman, was his sister. Yaakov also dwelt treacherously with his brother, and took from his hand his birthright and his blessing. He went then to Paddan Aram to the house of Laban, his mother's brother, cunningly obtained from him his daughter, his cattle, and all belonging to him, and fled away and returned to the land of Canaan to his father. His sons sold their brother Joseph, who went down into Mitzrayim and became a slave, and was placed into the prison for 12 years. And to the former Pharaoh dreamed dreams, and withdrew him from the prison house, magnified him above all the princes in Mitzrayim, on account of his interpreting his dreams to him. And when Elohim caused a famine throughout the land, he sent for and brought his father and all his brothers and the whole of his father's household, and supported them without price or reward, and brought the Mitzrayim for slaves. Now therefore, my Adonai, the king, behold, this child has risen up in their stead in Mitzrayim, to do according to their deeds, and to trifle with every king, prince, and judge. If it please the king, let us now spill his blood upon the ground, lest he grow up and take away the government from your hand, and the hope of Mitzrayim perish after he shall have reigned. They talking about a baby, but right now, if I didn't know, they talking about killing him because they think he'll take over. And Balaam said to the king, let us more recall for all the judges in Mitzrayim, the wise men thereof. Let us know if the judgment of death is due to this boy, as you did say, and then we will slay him. And Pharaoh sent and called for all the wise men of Mitzrayim, and they came before the king, and an angel of Yahuwah came against them. Here's the story, listen. He was like one of the wise men of Mitzrayim. And the king said unto the wise men, surely you have heard what the ivory boy who is in the house has done. Thus has Balaam judged in the matter. Now judge you also, and see what is due to the boy for the act of his commitment, what the act he has committed. And the angel, who seemed like one of the wise men of Pharaoh, answered and said as follows, before all the wise men of Mitzrayim, before the king and the princes, if it please the king, let the king send 4 men, who shall bring forth before him an ox stone, a coal of fire, and place them before the child. If the child shall stretch forth his hand and take the ox stone, then shall we know that with wisdom has the youth done all that he has done, and we must slay him. But if he stretch forth his hand upon the coal, then shall we know that it was not with knowledge that he did this thing, and he shall live. And the thing seemed good in the eyes of the king and the princes. So the king did according to the word of the angel of Yahuwah. The king ordered the ox stone and the coal to be placed before Mosheh, and they placed the boy before them. And the lad endeavored to stretch forth his hand on the ox stone, but the angel of Yahuwah took his hand and placed it upon the coal. This reminds me of the Airbender. If you ever watched the Airbender movie, that they had to test him and see if he was a true airbender, and they had to, for one, say, okay, here's can you make fire? Can you make water? Can you bend the air? Can you make earth? But anyway, they was testing him through the elements, and that's what they was doing with Mosheh, to see if he had any knowledge of what he was doing as a little baby. So anyway, but the angel of Yahuwah took his hand and placed it up. Okay, anyway, let me back up. And the king ordered the ox stone and the coal to be brought and placed before Mosheh. And they placed the boy before them. And the lad endeavored to stretch forth his hand to the ox stone, but the angel of Yahuwah took his hand and placed it upon the coal, and the coal became extinguished in his hand. And he lifted it up and put it into his mouth. and burnt part of his lips and part of his tongue, and he became heavy in mouth and tongue. If y'all didn't know, like the backstory of Mosheh, why he couldn't speak, and he told Yahuwah that he couldn't speak at the mountain, at where he was like, well, I can't speak, I need somebody to help me speak. This is why, because he burnt his tongue and his mouth with coal to save his life. And he became heavy in mouth and tongue. And when the king and the princes saw this, they knew that Mosheh had not acted with wisdom in taking off the crown from the king's head. So the king and the princes refrained from slaying the child. So Mosheh remained in Pharaoh's house, growing up. And Yahuwah was with him. While the boy was in the king's house, he was robed in purple, and he grew against the children of the king. And when Mosheh grew up in the king's house, Bathia, the daughter of Pharaoh, considered him as a son. And all the household of Pharaoh honored him. All the men of Mitzrayim were afraid of him. And he daily went forth and came into the land of Goshen, where his brethren, the children of Jasher, were. And Mosheh saw them daily in shortness of breath, in hard labor. And Mosheh asked them, saying, wherefore is this labor meted out unto you day by day? And they told him all that had befallen them, in the injunctions which Pharaoh had put upon them before his birth. And they told him all the counsels which Balaam the son of Beor had counseled against them, and what he had also counseled against them in order to slay him when he had taken the king's crown off his head. And when Mosheh heard these things, the anger was kindled against Balaam, and he sought to kill him. He was in ambush for him day by day, and Balaam was afraid of Mosheh. And he and his two sons rose up and went forth from Mitzrayim, and fled, delivered their souls, and betook themselves to the land of Cush, and Kikiamus, king of Cush. And Mosheh was in the king's house, going out and coming in. Yahuwah gave him favor in the eyes of Pharaoh, in the eyes of his servants, in the eyes of all the people of Mitzrayim. And they loved Mosheh exceedingly. And the day arrived when Mosheh went to Goshen to see his brethren. And he saw the children of Yasharel and their brethren in hard labor. And Mosheh was grieved upon their account. And Mosheh returned to Mitzrayim and came to the house of Pharaoh, and came before the king. And Mosheh bowed down before the king. And Mosheh said unto Pharaoh, I pray you, my Adonai, I have come to seek a small request from you. Isaac, get up. Isaac, get him up. You sleep. Turn not away of my face empty. And Pharaoh said unto him, speak. And Moshe said unto Pharaoh, let there be given unto your servants the children of Yasharel who are in Goshen, one day to rest therein from their labor. Oh shoot. This is deep right here. And the king answered Moshe and said, behold, I have lifted up your face in this thing to grant your request. And Pharaoh ordered a proclamation to be issued throughout Mitzrayim and Goshen, saying, to you, all the children of Yasharel, thus says the king, for 6 days you shall do your work and labor, but on the 7th day you shall rest. You shall not perform any work. Thus shall you do all the days. And the king of Mosheh, the son of Bathia, have commanded. And Moshe rejoiced at this thing which the king had granted to him. And all the king of Yasharel did as Moshe ordered them. For this thing was from Yahuwah to the children of Yasharel. For Yahuwah had begun to remember the children of Yasharel, to save them for the sake of their fathers. And Yahuwah was with Moshe, and his fame went throughout Mitzrayim. And Moshe became great in the eyes of all the Mitzrayim, in the eyes of all the children of Yasharel, seeking good for his people, Yasharel, and speaking words of peace regarding to them, to the king. Sit up, pay attention. So, that last part, he said 6 days. So Moshe was like, can you let my people take a break? Can you let the people of Goshen, can you like give them a break? They've been working really hard. Can they at least get a break? And the king said, yeah. He said 6 days they shall work, and the 7th day they shall rest. And that is called the Sabbath. So they've been doing a Sabbath even in Egypt. Moshe ordained it for the people of Mitzrayim so they can have a break, so they can rest. So it just shows, in Jasher, that even in Egypt, they attended the Sabbath. So far as the whole story, I'm gonna reiterate, make sure y'all always paying attention. So for one, key point one, Moshe was a baby, and he was from Yasharel, but he lived in the king's palace, in Pharaoh's palace, because of his daughter, Bathia, and she took him as a son. But one day, Moshe, as a baby, the Pharaoh was sitting down, and Moshe, as a baby, took his crown off of his head. And everybody was amazed, like, whoa, what did he just do? Are y'all paying attention? That ain't just something, that means something. That means a lot. He said you need to pay attention to who he is as a person. Who he is as the people of Yasharel. You need to know his history. His history run deep to be cunning. That they move smart. They end up getting over on a lot of kings and a lot of people. They end up finding their way. They end up finding favor. So he's like, you better watch out, because that could mean something. So they was like, okay, everybody bring the smart people in here. Let's find some people that can figure out what should we do with Moshe since he just took the crown off my head. Should he die? Should the baby die? Should the baby die because she took the crown off my head? And so they got into a debate. It was like, well, he's like, what? So there was a wise person. So Yahuwah, there was an angel of Yahuwah that came to go against the wise people and what should happen to the baby. So the Pharaoh was like, what should we do with him? And so the angel of Yahuwah, that looked like a wise man, he disguised himself as that, and he was like, okay, let's just do it this way. I'm gonna get a valuable rock, an ox stone, right? And it's a very valuable rock. And then I'm gonna get some coal, and we're gonna lay them. They both almost the same color, and and even if they're not, even if it's just two different valuable things, and whoever, if he gets the valuable rock, then y'all kill him. This is what the angel of Yahuwah said. And he said, but if he picks up the coal and that means he has no knowledge. That means he has no understanding, like y'all say. So they put the test out. They was like, the Pharaoh's like, go get an ox stone and go get a coal and let's see if it works. Everybody agreed. They was like, it makes sense. Let's just see what he do. So they went to go do it. They sat Mosheh, the baby, in front of the two things, and immediately Mosheh wanted to grab the valuable thing. So at first he was about to grab it, but the angel of Yahuwah made him grab the coal and put it in his mouth, and it burned his mouth as a baby. It burned his mouth and it burned his lip where he couldn't even talk. That's why he had a speech problem even as a baby. I mean, even when he led the people out of Mitzrayim or Egypt. So they was like, well, we know he's a regular baby. You know, he's not gonna take over the world. You know, he's not gonna take over Mitzrayim. You know, so they was like, they didn't think nothing of it. So the angel of Yahuwah saved Mosheh as a baby, and that was the reason why, that he got saved. Later on down the line, Mosheh, he grew up, and he asked Pharaoh. He was like, "Hey, I mean, I see these people." He's like, "Can I ask you something, Pharaoh? Please don't say no." And he was like, the Pharaoh was like, "Go ahead and ask." And he was like, "Can you give the people of Goshen a break? I feel like they've been working really hard. Can they just get a little break, like a day or something?" And he was like, "I'll see what I can do." So Pharaoh came out and said, "Hey, 6 days shall the people of Goshen work, and on the 7th day they get a day of rest." And everybody was happy. Moshe was happy that Pharaoh accepted it. The people was happy that Pharaoh accepted it, and they loved Moshe for that. That they can get a break finally. But it's all about Yahuwah's plan. That they can get a break. That they can attend the Sabbath even through hard enslavement. That they can take a break. Isaac, what you get?
I get
Josiah.
he said, if you pick up a rock and you pick up a coal, if you pick up that coal, that and the person said, and
Is he?
Practice saying that he chose Moshe for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
In that little baby, he see the huge potential. He seen that little baby got him
Yeah, exactly. Even as a baby, he knew that it's so powerful. That means that Yahuwah knows you as a little boy. He knows you right now, and he knows how good you can be. That's deep. He knows that you have wisdom and understanding. He knows that you can be good and you can do great things if you just be with him and trust him. But y'all, on the next one, we're gonna be reading something. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. This is Jasher, chapter 70, and on to another one.